Welcome back to the third sexual skill of level 2, which is touch and bodies. And this time I'm preparing you for the next game, which is Blindfolded Sensation play, which is honestly one of my favorite things that I set couples to play at home. And the reason why it's so successful, well, there's lots of different reasons, but one of them is that it appeals to lots of different types of sexual style. So I'll talk about this a lot more in level 3, but essentially it makes a lot of sense that just like everyone has a different love language, i.e. the different way that you like to give or receive affection and feel wanted and desired, which I talked about in level 1, everyone also has a different sexual style, the way that they personally like to sexually express themselves or sexually build pleasure or get turned on or sexually connect with someone else. And so actually all of the games that I've designed in Pillow Play have been specially designed to appeal to lots of different types of sexual style so that you can work out what works for you personally. This is especially true in level 2 and 3. And sensation play is one of those things, this game, especially when you add the blindfold, that appeals to lots of different types of sexual style. If you're really into being a sex geek and learning about all of these things, I would recommend reading the book The Erotic Mind by Jack Morin. And he essentially talks about 4 different cornerstones of human eroticism, which is essentially, in his words, the key elements that make sex amazing. The key things that humans have in common that turn sex from to amazing erotic memories and fantasies and encounters. And these 4 elements include longing and anticipation, so the idea of the tease, the build-up, the tension of that distance, of that wanting the final touch, wanting more. You've got naughtiness and taboo, so people who really eroticize rule breaking and feeling like they're doing something that they shouldn't be. You've got playing with power, which is all about power dynamics and one person feeling more in control and another person feeling more in their surrender. And then you've got overcoming ambivalence, which is your own mixed emotions, your own mixed feelings about something. Like, I want it, but I don't. You know, he's so sexy, but I shouldn't want him. And these sort of 4 cornerstones, Jack Morin argues, are what makes sex so erotic. And what they have in common is some form of obstacle, some form of tension to overcome, some sort of novelty or newness or uncertainty or tension. And blindfolded sensation play is all about playing into all of those in some way. It builds a lot of tension and anticipation and excitement and also power play into the experience depending on how you amp this game up. It's also amazing because it really helps people take off the pressure of sex being all about penetration. It doesn't matter what sex or gender or body parts you have between your legs. There is this real genital focus on sex in our society, which can add a lot of pressure to people's bodies of needing to build a certain level of arousal, get or maintain an erection, be able to achieve orgasm, be able to get wet enough. All of these pressures that we put on our bodies from having to perform, which really takes us out of the moment of being able to feel. And sensation play is all about getting couples to go back to that curious and fun and explorative frame of mind where actually they just want to feel and explore new sensations. And often when we just use our hands, the tools that we all know and love so well, it can be really easy to get out of the moment, to get into our head. And so when we bring in other types of sensation through things like massage oil, warmed up candle massage candles, cool things like ice, smooth things like a fork or metal, soft things like a feather or something that's ticklish, we really start to get the body to come alive and be more anticipatory for what it's about to experience. It's very hard to be in your head when you are lying there with a blindfold on and warm massage oil is being dribbled all over your body. So it's really great for all sorts of things. Staying present, awakening the body, removing pressure, great foreplay, not putting any expectations on your body to have to perform a certain way. Plus, it builds all of this incredible anticipation and power dynamic and tension that the erotic so needs. And before you do sensation play, go around your space. You do not need to spend a lot of money on these different erotic tools. Just go around your home and find things that you think, oh, this could be a really interesting texture or sensation on the skin. Things like flowers, things like feathers, things like wooden spoons from the kitchen, things that are cold, things that are warm. Just don't spend a whole heap of money on it. Just go around and gather a little tool bag of toys that you can use to explore each other's bodies. And that's why the blindfold is also so good, because they're not worried about, oh, how silly it looks having a fork removed on their skin. They can't see it. They've got their blindfold on, and so all they're experiencing is, wow, that feels incredible. When we remove the sense of sight, it often amplifies our other sensations more, so we can feel more, we can smell, and again, that's why it's so important to set the scene so beautifully with things like music and candles and aromas, because when you remove the sense of sight, all of their other senses will start to come alive. And so don't worry if the tools that you choose look a little silly, they won't be able to see them anyway. The science behind playing with temperature is also really interesting. So remember that physical arousal is all about blood flow. We want to get more blood flowing into the muscles, into the pelvis, and especially into the genitals, which is why we get people to move and to breathe and to sound, because we want to encourage that movement throughout the body. And what temperature does, if you bring in more warmth into an experience through things like a warmed up lube or warmed up massage oil, you're encouraging that blood flow. You're encouraging the body to relax and to open and to surrender and feel safe. And what you're doing when you bring in cold, like an ice cube or something being run along the skin, is it brings a heightened sense of sensitivity and anticipation into the nerve endings on the skin. So the balance between the two, hot and cold, is amazing for arousal, because it's that beautiful balance between relaxation and blood flow and safety in the warmth, which is your parasympathetic nervous system, and that, sort of intense excitement, sort of jittery sensitivity of the cold, which is your sympathetic nervous system. So bringing them both in together is an amazing amplifier for arousal for lots of people's bodies. Blindfold is also really interesting in this game, because not only does it heighten your other senses and make you feel even more and help you sort of go more inward and more trance-like, I suppose, but it also adds this element of power dynamic, where the person who's giving the sensation is the only one who can see and gets to select the tools and gets to explore their partner's body in their own pace that works for them. They're definitely the ones in control. And the person who's lying back and receiving all of these sensations is also having their sight restricted. They're definitely the ones in surrender. And that, as a power dynamic, can also be extremely erotic. And so play with it where you're both experiencing both sides. You both have a time to give, you both have a time to receive. And don't just be curious in the debrief about how the physical sensations felt, things like the different tools and the temperatures and things, but also reflect on that power dynamic. Did each of us like surrendering? Did each of us like taking control? Is that a dynamic that we could use in other times in our relationship? I'll get you to explore this more in later games as well.